This Tuesday, January 9th, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and legal in 40 states. Download Cut today in the App Store. That's KUTT and use promo code SGPN for a 10% bonus deposit bonus. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, January the 9th, currently 11:07 on the East Coast. Here to get into the 5-6 game schedule here in the association on Tuesday evening. And joining me, as usual, on the Tuesday episodes, I got my guy here with me. It's Scott, Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing this Tuesday morning?
They're doing pretty well. Can't complain. Pretty interesting slate in general, but yeah, going to be a little bit of a shorter slate. So I'm assuming we're going to spend some time recapping what happened yesterday, just talking about what happened.
Yeah, yesterday turned out, I guess we could say, a pretty good day, a profitable day, I guess we could say, for the pod. Both Terrell and I hit our dogs. Terrell gave out the Utah Jazz money line, never in doubt. They just came out of the gate on fire, did the Utah Jazz, and didn't even look back. Got a little close in the third quarter. They got it down under 10 points to the Bucks, but the Jazz held on to get the victory there. Plus 310 money line dog. Cashes for Terrell, and I had the Pacers money line last night. Fortunately for me, they were able to, play with a lot of heart and pride. Yeah, especially when Tyrese Halliburton left with a hamstring injury. He's officially listed as a left hamstring strain. We'll talk about some of the injuries that did transpire yesterday in the association. So I got hooked on my lock yesterday on the Charlotte Hornets. As soon as I saw that the game going to overtime, I was like, well, this is going to shit. So hopefully we can bounce back as far as the locks last night for myself at least. But Scott, I guess we can start with the injuries and then we'll kind of work our way there. That's kind of the news that's hot right now in the association. So the game that I was talking about with the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton did leave that game last night. It is classified as a left hamstring strain. Don't know the timeline right now for him, but I do expect him, especially with a hamstring injury, to miss several weeks here for the Indiana Pacers. And then another bomb that got dropped on us last night. Ja Morant will be having season-ending shoulder injury for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he's going to miss the rest of the season for the Memphis Grizzlies. So two of the brighter stars, the young stars, all-stars in the association, lose at least one to the rest of the season and probably another one in Halliburton for an extended period amount of time here, Scott.
Yeah, I feel like once again with Memphis, even though they were in better form with Ja playing, he didn't play many games. They got off to a bad start to the season because he was out of it, and he was out anyway for different reasons. I was never high on this Memphis team. I know that they were playing better with Ja, but I think we can agree that it would have been a battle to even get to the play-in. And I feel like that would have been the real story for Memphis moving forward. As for Indiana, it's an interesting spot because they were kind of sputtering. Then they figured it out after Carlisle made the girlfriend doesn't, you have to play defense, whatever the comment he was trying to make was, but it kind of helped them actually guard somebody, and they were playing some good basketball. But the only concern you have, though, is that over the grand scheme of things, is this team good enough to overcome an absence like Halliburton, who does everything for this team? He's the floor general. He has the ball in his hands all the time. And defensively, this team's not good enough to overcome a sudden, I'd say, decline in their offensive firepower. So I think the Indiana story is a bigger one with Halliburton. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. I know Ja's out for the entire season. But my point is, I don't know what the ceiling for this Memphis team was anyway. They would have been a fun team that maybe would be best case scenario, what, like a frisky 7 seed?
Yeah,
Like
I
that's
agree.
basically what their ceiling was. So
Yeah.
Indiana's the bigger story for me. I don't know how long he's going to be out for. Hamstring injuries can be tricky. But the point is, Indiana was somewhere in the, I'd say, middle to uh, below half of the playoff spots in the Eastern Conference. So
Yeah.
any slump here that could take a couple weeks might take him completely out of the playoff picture. So we're going to see what happens with Halliburton. Hopefully it's not serious. But I'm assuming we're in agreement if Indiana is going to be without Halliburton for, let's just say, 3-4 weeks. Let's
Yeah.
say something like that. Do you think they're about to implode, at least in the short term?
I think that we'll find out a lot about how good Ben Matherin and TJ McConnell can compensate for the absence of Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, it's a small sample. They were able to do it last night. But then you're going to need other guys to step up, like the Buddy Hields of the world of Monster. It's going to have to be a team effort in all these games that Tyrese Halliburton is going to miss. Obviously, with the caliber of a player that Tyrese Halliburton is, and racking up an automatic 11, 12 assists per night, I can put faith in Ben Matherin and TJ McConnell to compensate what Tyrese Halliburton does. Obviously, it's not going to be up to the standards that and what Hallie was doing this season. But I think that they could tread water, maybe just play 500 basketball. I think they'll be okay because you take a look at the Eastern Conference standings right now, Scott, that I think there's 8 teams that are 21 and 15. So they're going to be battling, I think till the end of the season. We're getting close to the halfway point of the season. I think most of these teams have played around 35 to 36 games each. So again, like you mentioned, depending on the number of weeks that Hallie's going to be out for the Pacers, I think they'll be okay. With TJ McConnell and Benedict Matherin at that guard position.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's going to be tricky, though, because the entire offense is built around Halliburton. So they
Yeah,
kind of have
yeah.
to reinvent what they want to do. I said Indiana was kind of in the bottom half of the playoff spots. Technically, they're in 6th, but as you said before, there are a bunch of teams with the exact same record.
Mhm.
Luckily for them, though, the Bulls are in 9th, and they are currently 17 and 21. So
Yeah.
Indiana does have some breathing room with a
Mhm.
couple of games in hand. But I wanted to at least mention that because if Indiana sputters, they might be a playing team. And I
Sure.
feel like this next stretch without Halliburton can determine what their seeding might be.
Yeah, 100%. I think the team you probably want to roast from last night is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks, especially after what Giannis came out and said about how this team needs to
Everyone
have a
needs to
better
take accountability and
yeah,
do better.
accountability and play better on the defensive side of the basketball. And I know he was just joking about the equipment manager and stuff like that, but it was funny that after the Jazz did get the victory last night, that they immediately tweeted out a video of the equipment manager of the Milwaukee Bucks. But I mean, we've talked about it a lot. This team is just not very good defensively. I don't know if we can keep on beating the same drum here, but I don't know. Do you have anything to add about this Milwaukee Bucks team? I think it feels like it's the Boston Celtics, it's maybe the Sixers, and then there's a little bit of drop off to Milwaukee, and then there's a significant drop off after Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I have to kind of include Miami because anytime you have Jimmy
Yeah,
Butler,
yeah,
who
yeah,
is really not playing any games in the regular season because why would he even bother? I have to include him there because at least they represented the Eastern Conference last year.
yeah.
So I have
Fair.
Miami in that group as well. They're definitely below Boston in terms of overall talent. I think Boston's the most talented team in the league if I had to
Mm-hmm.
just go from top to bottom roster. But Missoula is the wild card in this whole situation, which I'll keep mentioning, which is why they lost last night to a team missing its best player. So I know Tatum didn't play, but still, you make an argument that Tatum on Boston is less valuable than Halliburton on Indiana. I don't think it's an argument. I think that Halliburton is
No.
easily the more valuable guy on those
Yeah.
respective franchises. And it's in Indiana. It's tricky. But in a game where Jaylen Brown basically scores 40 points and Halliburton plays a half, you kind of have to win that game. Just being honest. You kind of have
Yeah.
to win that game. So I wanted to at least mention Miami in the, I'd say, somewhat similar grouping for teams that I think can be a dark horse candidate to win the Eastern Conference. But I feel like talking about the overall East, I haven't taken Milwaukee seriously for a long time. I know Dame didn't play. I get
Right.
it. But I also can't Like, ignore the fact that Dame, even though offensively he's a big piece for that team, despite being a little bit inconsistent this year, he can't guard anybody. So Dame not being in the lineup doesn't excuse the fact you got torched defensively by Utah. In fact, you can argue that your defense should have been better with Dame on the bench. So they're just not really. I can't even describe all the issues with this team because there's a lot to list, but it seems like really there's no sense of cohesion, and maybe it's a chemistry issue or what the story is, but everything just feels a bit off, doesn't it? Like Giannis had a massive 40-point, like 16, what do you have, like 46 and 6, whatever the hell he had against Houston, and they still lost over the weekend. Now, Houston's been good at home. You know that because you root for the team. But still, like Giannis gives you that performance, and he has a triple-double last night. I had him triple-double, so shout out to him. He gave me a nice payday. But still, you got to run out of your building. You're down 31 at home to Utah. I don't care if Dame's playing or not. Utah's an abysmal road team. They have been for a couple years. I get they're at full strength. I get they're playing better basketball. You're down 31 at the half. Are you out of your mind? Like, we got to at least acknowledge that it's not just a Dame issue because you couldn't use him as an excuse last night because defensively they just weren't there either. But I don't take Milwaukee seriously because I don't think they're that good. And I feel like a lot of people are going to look at their talent and go, well, Giannis can do this and this team can do this. To be honest, have they done anything besides the NBA Finals run? Have they done anything?
I mean, after that, I know that Giannis last year missed the most of the playoffs with the back injury and in that first round against the Miami Heat. I think coaching change has a lot to do with it as well. I feel like, I don't know, maybe is Adrian Griffin the answer at that head coaching position? I'm not sure. I know you weren't a Coach Bud fan. I wasn't really high on the guy either, but he did deliver them a championship. And
well, to be clear, I wasn't a fan of Budenholzer, and then I was on a flight, coincidentally, with him, flying back from Milwaukee, and he took his shoes off on the plane, so he immediately was further down my power rankings, so that did happen. But, yeah, that happened. I forgot when it was. I think during the summer. He had, just gotten fired, and he was wearing Bucks sweatpants on the plane, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it, because they just fired him, but he won a ring there, so I really didn't know if that was, a good move or not, but yeah, I sat on the same plane as Budenholzer one time. So, fun fact.
But I think that, I mean, we keep saying, are they going to be able to figure it out? I mean, we're approaching the 50% mark of the regular season, and it seems like there's more questions. Yeah, they're not good enough right now. There's more questions than answers. So right now, it feels like the East at least will run through the Boston Celtics just because of the talent they do have. And like you mentioned, that it is going to be, if Joe Mazzulla can execute and coach down the stretch where it does matter, that'll probably be the difference of Boston at minimum getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and then possibly to the NBA Finals, but we shall see. Anything else from last night, Scott, you want to mention before we get into the games for Tuesday night?
Yeah, if we're going to talk about one team that's falling apart in the East, we got to talk about a team that's falling apart in the West because they were struggling recently. They got buried by that same Memphis team that was playing without Ja in the fourth quarter over the weekend, or it might have been, was that Sunday?
The Memphis and the Phoenix game, I think, was Sunday, because they were not back-to-back last night.
Yeah, so they got outscored, I think it was 35-18 in the fourth quarter at home against the Grizzlies team that we saw without Ja this entire season. They're one of the worst teams in the league, according to record. So they got buried in the fourth quarter. And then you figure, okay, this team we know still sucks. They're not playing that much better, Phoenix is, but game against the Clippers just lost to the Lakers. Maybe something weird happens. They'll put it together a good effort. And then they come out and give up 71 in the first half, and they no-show the second half again. So Phoenix, you can look at the body language, you can look at the roster. I know all of us absolutely roasted Phoenix's offseason during the win total preview for the Pacific Division. We love the under. It was one of our favorite plays. We thought this team would either not take it seriously the regular season, or just the chemistry wouldn't be there and they wouldn't guard anybody. And it's kind of been both, but I have to at least ask because I hated the Nurkic trade because I think Nurkic is a complete liability defensively. It's not Enes Kanter bad in pick and roll defense, but it's up there. Like, he's a really bad pick and roll defender. And Beal, we know, can't guard anybody. He's always hurt. So I do want to ask you about this team, though, because I don't know what they're supposed to do. Because Vogel's been really bad, but at the same point, the roster is not very good either. They're the worst fourth quarter team in the league. I can understand if you're bad at defense. I can get all that. But if you have Booker and Durant and now Beal, and you're still the worst fourth quarter team in the league, I don't know what to tell you, because we figured at least the offense would be elite, and that would offset the bad defense, kind of like Milwaukee, who can't guard anybody, but they can still score so many points. Their overall record's pretty good. Phoenix isn't even that good offensively. According to efficiency rankings, they're middle of the road. They're bad at defense, and they're terrible in the fourth quarter. And they can't really make any moves because they traded all their assets to get Bradley Beal. So I don't know what they're supposed to do, but you can tell by body language, they kind of hate playing with each other, don't they?
I wasn't a fan of the Phoenix Suns as soon as they hired Frank Vogel. I'm not a Frank Vogel guy. I thought that was the wrong hiring for this team. But I think, like you mentioned, I think it kind of goes back to like Brooklyn, where they couldn't have the big three there in Durant, Harden, and Irving on the court at the same time, just because, one guy would be injured or Kyrie Irving had his off the court stuff going on, or whatever the case might have been. You're right. There's not a lot of moves that can be made for this team because around Bradley Beal,
I don't know if Durant are expendable at this point, and Beal's contract's absurd. Nobody's going to take it.
Like who's exactly right. So who's going to want the surrounding piece? I'm like, nobody's going to want Eric Gordon. We were harping on that for the past several seasons for Phoenix to make that trade. And then he finally signs with them. But I mean, you can't really trade him. If you're going to trade someone, it's going to have to be one of the big three. And I think that, when we heard about the Bradley Beal trade, that it's really set the franchise backwards, because when is the last time we've seen a three caliber players like Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker win a title?
Are you talking about just like a score first mentality, or what actual aspect are you talking about?
Yeah, probably like scoring for like offensive output between those three players.
Realistically, as a Nets fan, I can tell you right now, not to tie this back to Milwaukee, but the Nets probably should have won the title. Like they had injuries, Kyrie rolled his ankle on Giannis, and Harden got injured about a minute into game one. People forget how badly the Nets buried the Bucks in games 1 and 2, and how close game 7 was, even with Durant being by himself, with James Harden dragging a foot behind him. So then you can make an argument, even though injuries were a big reason for the Nets losing, that type of trade and roster building can work in the right circumstances. I just don't think Beal's good enough to even be considered part of a big three at this point. But if you want to go all the way back, JR's mentioning Miami. I would consider Cleveland if you want to include Kyrie and Kevin Love. If you want to count Kevin Love in that same sentence, that could be an argument.
I was going to say like Durant.
The Warriors with Durant. Yeah. I mean, once again, I'm trying to go through it on top of my head. Probably Warriors with Durant. But that's the last one I could think of where you had like a serious big three. But
at that time,
what I'm looking at.
Durant and Curry probably were when Durant was on the Warriors. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry were two of the top 7 players in the NBA at the time.
And Klay Thompson was still an elite defensive player. I feel like that's kind of the problem that you run into with Phoenix, is that they have a couple of guys. Durant's viewed as being a good defender. I think he's more of a good help defender, in my opinion. I'm not sure if he's a great like on-ball guy. Booker's improved, but he's not exactly a stopper by any means. And Beal's a traffic cone. And we know Nurkic is abysmal in pick and roll. So they're constantly in switches and get torched. So then I don't know what they're supposed to do, because you can look at the supporting cast and go, well, maybe trade like Grayson Allen and some other pieces, but that's the kind of guys they need on their team. They need better role players. So you're just stuck. Nobody's going to want Beal. You're not going to trade Booker. Do you trade Durant after you give up 4 first-round picks and Mikal Bridges about a year and a half ago? Like, I don't know what the hell you're supposed to do. You're kind of just screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that again, it's gonna be another team with more. So hypothetically, let's just say the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks made it to the finals, who would you pick? Hypothetically,
the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah,
I'll take the Bucks.
Okay, I think I would too.
I have more faith in Milwaukee's offense, and the fact is, once again, no matter how bad the team is defensively, it makes no sense Phoenix is this bad offensively. And at least the Bucks with star power had been able to put up points, because that's what they were supposed to do. Phoenix is just lost on both sides of the ball. That's the main issue.
Yeah. Andre Gomez making a sensible point, and I think something I agree with. They can trade for Drummond and actually have him starting at the center position. He's been pretty good filling in for, Nikola Vucevic at the time he's been out, rebounding the basketball.
You trade Nurkic back?
I mean, I think there's something they could work out, and I think Drummond is a guy that can give you a solid 15, 20 minutes defensively. He can rebound the basketball very well. We've seen that in the absence of Vucevic. I'm not saying that's going to solve all their problems, but it'll give him some definite rim protection. What Drummond brings to the table for the Chicago Bulls right now. But I don't know, man. Again, it's going to be tough for this Phoenix Suns team to make it, like we mentioned, to make any type of trades when it comes to the trade deadline to improve this roster. But yeah.
I mean,
pretty much. That's just what it is.
They might miss the playoffs. Like, it's that bad with this team. They might miss the playoffs.
All right. Anything else from last night, Scott?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really caught my eye. It was mostly the Milwaukee getting blown out by 31 in the first half at home, which was the main takeaway. And Phoenix, I had to mention, I thought the Clippers would win the game anyway because they're just more talented. But not really. OKC won a high-scoring game against Washington. I saw Kuzma had like 14 rebounds. So once again, OKC doesn't need another rebounder. Good win for Miami, but Houston never wins any road games. So no offense. So not exactly surprised there. No, that's basically it. But once again, just to touch upon the Suns game once again, they were down 8 at the half, and they lost the game by 27. They got outscored 37-20 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Like that, the last 2 games you've been outscored by basically 17 in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that's a serious problem.
Yep. All right. Before we get into the games for the Tuesday night schedule here in the association, let me tell everyone about DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, is bringing you an offer that'll help make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. You know, I'm going to be all over my Texans this weekend in the NFL playoffs. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code SGP. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code SGP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. For problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. And we're also brought to you by Game Time. Look, we're at that time of the year where NFL playoffs are kicking off this weekend. NBA season in full swing. College basketball, NHL is in full swing as well. UFC starts back up this weekend as well. And you probably want to get out to some of these sporting events. And not only sporting events, but you also have a music concert that's in your area, a comedy show, or a theater that's near you. Let Game Time help you out to find tickets to all those events happening near you. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you're going to have. Some of the great things about their app, they have flash deals and last-minute tickets available. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. They give you images of the seat views before you actually purchase the tickets, and their lowest price guaranteed. Also, event cancellation protection as well. So forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You can get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and much more. Also, the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, two taps, and you're all set to go. And the tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email box or wait for them in the mailbox. Think they're going to get lost. Nope, they are sent directly to your phone. Snag the tickets without stress with Game Time. It's perfect for the playoffs. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CFBX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Scott, let's get into the schedule here for tonight in the association. Another short schedule here, but we will dive right into it. Let's go to the first game on the East Coast. The Sacramento Kings, they are traveling to the Motor City to take on the Detroit Pistons. Currently, as it stands, the Kings are an 11-point road favorite in this game with a total of 240. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, for the Sacramento Kings, pretty clean injury report. Only player that is questionable tonight is going to be Trey Lyles. He is dealing with a right ankle sprain. For the Detroit Pistons, Cade Cunningham is going to be out. I think it's at 7 to 10 days is what I saw this morning. He's dealing with a left knee strain. Isaiah Stewart is going to be out for this game as well. And Monte Morris continues to be out for this Detroit Pistons team as well. Let's start with the side here. Scott, minus 11 in favor of the Sacramento Kings in Detroit here tonight.
I think I have to lay it. I don't feel great about it once again with, the Kings being in bad form. And I've criticized the Kings roster construction for a couple months at this point. Having said that, we know Detroit is one of the worst teams of all time. And the only bright spot on the entire team, besides Duren, who's had some injury issues, was Cade, who had a pretty good, a couple performances there, a couple 40 pieces against the Nets, for example. And I think the game before that, he had 40 and change. But in the middle of that losing streak, he was giving them some production. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to give boosted minutes to Jaden Ivey and Killian Hayes? Like, is that the new approach? Like, I think you're
so.
screwed. Like, this team is one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They're the worst team in the entire league, and I think they're going to get buried. So the Kings are a team that, once again, got destroyed at home by New Orleans. New Orleans owns that team, so I'm really not going to read too much into it. But they were down 50 with no Zion in the third quarter in a home game, which is embarrassing, but I do think they're going to bounce back based on the spot. Mike Brown's a coach that doesn't really tend to let these bad performances roll over into other performances. I do think that you're looking at a spot where Mike Brown will get his team up for at least one game. You can argue teams might be overlooking Detroit with no Cade. After trailing by 50 in the previous game at home, that's not going to happen here. I think the Kings are going to be motivated, and they'll be ready to roll, and I do think they'll end up burying this team. I'm on Sacramento. If the Pistons end up covering, then that means Bojan probably had a massive game, and I do think you're looking at maybe Ivy props. If once again you're going to see Ivy getting a bigger role with Cade not being in the lineup, but I do think that Fox, Monk, and Duren are. I'm trying to think about this. Fox, Monk, and Sabonis, 3 best players on the court in this game. Out of order, but I'm saying you have Fox, Sabonis, and Monk.
Yeah, probably.
And then probably Duren's at 4.
Yeah,
if you're going to give me a team with the 3 best players on the court, I'm going to take you to win the game by a decent margin. So I'm going to go with Sacramento in this spot.
Yeah, I think the only pause that I do have about the Sacramento Kings is that their defense over the last 3 games has just been absolutely brutal. Now, like you mentioned, this Detroit team over the past couple of weeks, or at least the last week or so, they've shown some type of pride on the offensive side, but that's really much been led by Cade Cunningham. And it's not new territory for this team to play without Cade in this game. I'm just not comfortable laying it with the Kings here. Do they blow them out?
I feel less comfortable taking points with the Pistons. With
so I'm not going to have actually money on the side. I'll lean with the Pistons. Again, I'm not going to have a single dollar on the spread here. I think my more favorite play would probably be the Kings team total to go over in this game, because the Pistons defense over the last 5 games is the absolute worst as far as defensive rating goes. 127.9. They're right down there with the Milwaukee Bucks that we talked about at the top of this episode, the Golden State Warriors, who haven't been very good defensively. The Wizards, we know this season, have not been very good, and there are the Pistons at the bottom of the barrel as far as defensive rating goes. But I think, like you mentioned, Scott, that this Kings team has probably the best 3 players on their roster. And then you look at Jalen Duren. So I think they have a lot of offensive success in this game due to the Sacramento Kings. And I think that they want to get that bad taste out of their mouth with kind of what's transpired for them over the last week or so. So I'll take the Kings team total over as my favorite play in this game. Do you have any thoughts on the total or any team totals in this game?
I'm not going to take an under. Like, if the Kings scored 140, wouldn't shock me. I don't mind a Kings wire-to-wire win. I know that FanDuel or some other books have potential props of team to score 100 points in the first 3 quarters. Yeah, I don't mind that either for Sacramento in this game. But I think you're going to see a lot of points. I do think that if you're looking at a fun angle, which Adam Rosenberg and I are going to try out, we're going to try to do a moneyline rollover parlay with the Pistons starting today. They've lost 32 of the last 33 games. A moneyline rollover means you just bet the money line in the game tonight for whatever amount you want. take the winnings from this game and just roll it over into the next game, and we're going to see how long it lasts. Because last time they were this bad, they lost 28 straight. They're at 4, and Cade's out for about a week and a half. So we're going to see what happens. But once again, I think if you put in $100, you want a casual $18. So that's going to be the first step in what can be a pretty fun exercise. So I got that going for me and Adam as well.
Player props in this game. Anything you're looking at?
Yeah, I think for this one, I'm going to be looking at... The only concern is blowout stuff. Like, I'm really concerned that the Kings might go up by a ton and then bench everybody. But, I mean, I think I have to just go with the star power for Sacramento. I don't mind Keegan Murray threes, though. I think that he can be in line for a good game as well. But it's mostly just going to be Fox and Sabonis just beating this team to death. So I think you're looking at those two. Monk off the bench is going to help, but I just don't think the Pistons are going to offer any resistance. You mentioned how bad Detroit's defense has been, and now Cade is out, and he gives them some length at least. So they don't even have that. Do you want to make a case for, like, Ivy props, or... I'm not taking Hayes props, at least for points. Maybe assists for Hayes, because he's incapable of actually scoring a basket. But I think he can pass the ball to some teammates.
I was trying to look, because this was something that's transpired last season with Killian Hayes was stepping in for Cade Cunningham. Wasn't much of a score, but the rebounds and assists for him were going over the projection by the books, especially over on DraftKings. He averaged 6.3 assists. I think it was really the assists that were going over. So he averaged 6.3 assists last season without Cade Cunningham in the lineup. Do you see a number on that for him right now? Or let me see. I got it right here. 6.5 at plus 114. So they already kind of know. I think I would probably look at Bogdanovic. I think he would get probably the bulk of the shot attempts at least.
I think the main two is Bogdanovic and Burks, if I had to guess who's going to get the main boost offensively.
Yeah. And again, like you mentioned, for the Kings side, again, if it turns into a 30-point game entering that fourth quarter, and then they pull their starters because obviously they don't need to be out there, then, Mike Brown's not going to, and they're on a front end of a back-to-back as well, are the Sacramento Kings. So they go to Charlotte tomorrow. So yeah, I'll probably stay away from props in this game at least. Anything else for this game?
No, not really. I think the Kings probably win this game. I'll tell you what, they should win this game by at least 20. I'm not sure if they're going to, but after trailing by 50 at home in the previous game, and you're against the worst team in the league, and they're missing their best player, you kind of have to win this game by 20-plus points.
Yep, 100%. All right, before we continue the conversation here for the betting picks here for tonight, let me tell everyone about the newest sponsor on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. That is going to be Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and legal in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes and tons of fun. Social features that give it a feel of a betting social network. Cut offers lower VIG and customizable odds. Create your own bets. Cut handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase down anyone for money. Social features equals group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and more. There's also rewards. Get cash back on every single time you bet against your friends or other users. So download Cut today in the App Store. That's KUTT. And use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. That's KUTT, promo code SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy gives you the opportunity to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long, whether it's the NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. Stay tuned at the end of the episode. Scott and I will put together our Underdog Fantasy entry for the Tuesday night schedule in the association, so you guys can watch along. You can make your own picks and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. And when you deposit with promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. So again, that's Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, Scott, let's get into the next game here on the schedule. We got the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are headed to Orlando to take on the Orlando Magic in this game. Currently, the Wolves are a 5-point road favorite in this game with a total of 216.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams here, let's start with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Pretty clean injury report for them. Nobody of significance is on this injury report. For the Orlando Magic, Wendell Carter Jr. is out. Gary Harris is out. Joe Ingles is out. Franz Wagner is out as well. And Jonathan Isaac is out as well. So it seems like half of their roster is going to be out for this game. Let's start with the side here. Scott, Wolves -5 on the road here in Orlando.
I get the line because Orlando's missing a lot of guys, but I think I'm going to take the points in this spot. Minnesota's a team that I've had a pretty good read on recently. I called them fraudulent last week, but I did pick them to beat Houston because I just thought it was a good matchup for them, and I thought that Houston offensively didn't exactly possess enough weapons to actually match Minnesota, and they got buried. Then they played Dallas, and they lost immediately after that, but Orlando's been missing some guys, and Montero's been great the last couple games. He's really embraced the bigger offensive role ever since Franz in particular got injured. But you're looking at the supporting cast, and Harris is out, and all these other guys, but yeah, Caleb Houston just shows up and casually hits 7 threes. So I guess they're just fine. Suggs has been good as well. So, of course, I like him a lot more than I like Mike Conley. But I think looking at this matchup, I'm going to lean to Orlando at home. They've been a very good home team this season. Getting 5 or 5.5 against the Minnesota team that has lost 3 of 4, I find intriguing. I'm going to lean to Orlando here. I think that they were mispriced against the Hawks. Then again, everyone's been mispriced against the Hawks because of the worst ATS team by a country mile in the entire league. So I'm going to lean to Orlando. I just think at home it's too many points.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this was probably the fishy line of, I guess, the day, we can say, at least for me. That wise, the Timberwolves only laying 5 points against Orlando Magic team where half of the roster is pretty much decimated. But like you mentioned, that this Wolves team has just not been very good on the road this season. 11-8 straight up, yes, but only 8-11 against the spread are the Minnesota Timberwolves on the road. 12-7 towards the over. Like you mentioned, they did lose the last game against Dallas on the road, where I think they only scored, I want to say 2 points like in the final 3.5 to 4 minutes against the Dallas Mavericks. So I think that was a little bit telling for me. So give me the Orlando Magic here plus the 5. Any thoughts on the total here, Scott?
I think I'm going to lean under in this game. I do still like both teams defensively, and I've said this multiple times, but Minnesota's scoring depth is a serious problem for them, not for other teams. They basically need Ant to score 35 points in every game because they don't have enough guys who can actually manufacture their own offense. Towns, we know, can. He's a bit inconsistent, but he's had a good year. But going through the game against Dallas, scored 108 points. They had 3 guys on the entire team who scored 10-plus points. Towns had 24, Edwards had 36, Reed had 15, Gobert had 9. That was it. Gobert had 9, Conley had 9. So when you have 3 guys, only 2 starters who can consistently get you 10-plus points, I'm not going to think that highly of you. So I think Orlando can actually be able to stop this team offensively, and I do know with Gobert and with Towns and with a lot of good defenders that Minnesota has, they're going to trade off some good offense for better defense. I like the under. I think you're going to see a rock fight. Might be first to like 105 wins this game, but I'm going to lean to the under here. This line feels a bit high.
Yeah, I should have mentioned when we're talking about the spread that the Orlando Magic 13-3 straight up at home and 12-4 against the spread, and they are 10-6 towards the under. And I think for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they are on the front end of a back-to-back where they do play the Boston Celtics tomorrow in Boston. So maybe a bit of a look-at spot for Minnesota going up against Boston tomorrow. But yeah, I think I would lean towards the under here as well. I think that, both these teams are not the fastest paced teams, at least over the last 5 games. The Orlando Magic are, let's see here, 24th as far as pace goes, Minnesota 26. So they are bottom 8 bottom 7 as far as pace goes over the last 5 games. And then you take a look at defensive efficiency. We've talked about how Minnesota has been really good on the season, especially at home defensive, but they're still top 10 over the last 5 games as far as defense goes. And I think if Orlando wants to win this game, it's going to have to be on the defensive end as well. I don't think they're going to want to try to go out there and outscore Minnesota. So under for me here as well. Player props in this game here. Scott, what are we looking at?
I think I blindly got to go back to Suggs in some capacity because he's gotten a bigger role ever since Wagner got injured. And we know Suggs is an extreme confidence guy because he's going to keep shooting. He thinks that he's going to make every shot, for better or worse. So I don't mind Suggs threes in this game. I know Minnesota's pretty good at defending the three ball, but once again, I think the volume might trump that. But looking at the numbers here, I quickly just wanted to pull up Suggs' threes. Sorry, just
I
pull
have it
it
if
up
you want
quickly.
it.
Yeah, what's the threes for Suggs?
So last 5 games, 1 of 7, but then he went 3 of 7 against the Warriors, 6 of 12 against the Kings, 7 of 9 against the Denver Nuggets, and then 4 of 7 in the last game against the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, and as prop for this game, I'm assuming is around 2.5. If I had to guess.
For this game, he is at
it's 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5 minus 130 on draft.
I mean, I see minus 120. He's gone over in 4 of the last 5, so I am pretty tempted by that just based on volume. I like the points though. I think 15.5 is too low for a guy that plays that many minutes and for a guy that's such a key piece of this team. So I don't mind Suggs over there. I'm trying to think of what else I want. Like Gobert rebounds, we made a pact together that we just weren't going to take again. But it's a decent matchup for him.
Yeah.
Do I just blindly consider Banchero? Because if Orlando's going to win this game, how else are they supposed to score?
Yeah, I think you have to. Because I mean, he's pretty much picked up the production with everybody that's been out for this Orlando Magic team, and it's been showing up obviously in the box score. He's had, let's see, over the last 3 games, or even the last 5 games, he's averaging 33 points per game, 28, 27, 43, 32, and 35. So he scored at least 30 plus points in 3 straight games for the Orlando Magic. The shot volume, he's averaging 23.6 shot attempts per game over the last 5 games. So I think, like you mentioned with Jalen Suggs in the 3-point volume, I think for Paolo Banchero, it's pretty much the same thing as far as getting the shot volume as well for him to get the points.
Yeah. It's mostly just based on shot volume as well.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's basically it. I mean, if you expect Ant to go back at him, then maybe Ant points as well. But, I mean, once again, Ant's the only guy that I can see as a guard who could actually create his own shot on this team. So I don't know if they're going to send Suggs on him. I don't know what Orlando's going to do. But at some point, aren't you just better off double teaming Edwards and just daring like Mike Conley or McDaniels to hit shots? When's that going to happen?
I think at some point you have to entertain that idea. Because I think when you mentioned it, that Minnesota, their only primary scorer or their most consistent scorer is Anthony Edwards, and then maybe you get Cat, but then after that, there's a significant fall off.
Almost the argument is you let Edwards go nuts, you stop everybody else, and you win games because you can go a couple ways about it, but. Once again, I'm really just not a fan of the supporting cast. At least offensively, I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I don't mind Naz Reid points in this game, but once again, that's the only. You can argue Naz Reid's the 3rd best offensive player on the entire team. Like you can make that argument.
Consistent, yeah. I think, yeah.
So,
coming off of the bench, sure. Yeah. All right, next game on the schedule here, Scott. Let's get over to the Portland Trailblazers. They are in Madison Square Garden to take on the Knicks here tonight. Knicks are currently a 12-point favorite in this game with a total of 228.5 now is the updated number. I'll change the banner on that. But looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let's start here with the road team, the Portland Trailblazers. Their injury report consists of DeAndre Ayton, who is doubtful. Moses Brown is out. And then Jabari Walker and Matisse Thybulle are both questionable here tonight with left knee and right foot injuries, respectively. For the New York Knicks, pretty clean injury report. Of course, the only player that's on there is Mitchell Robinson, who is out for the year. Let's start with the side here. Scott, minus 12 in favor of the home team, the New York Knicks, hosting the Portland Trailblazers.
It's a lot of points. My Nets lost to the Blazers over the weekend because, of course, the Nets beat the Thunder and then lose to the Blazers. But still, I think I have to lean to the Knicks, right? I mean, this team with OG has been incredible. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to suddenly expect them to slip up here. You can argue that maybe the Knicks will be full of themselves because they've beaten some good teams. But if you beat Philly by 30, I'm going to assume that you're going to be able to beat Portland by 12. Portland's not a great team. Brogdon's been good recently. Simons, we know, can be extremely solid at times. He's very streaky, but when he's on, he's very, very fun to watch. The Knicks defensively are just a really good unit with OG because they can send a lot of bodies, a lot of different looks. They have Hart, DiVincenzo. You could throw in OG. A lot of really good defensive players on this team. And I really haven't missed seeing Quickly or Barrett on this roster. Barrett, I'm not a fan of. I know he had 30-something the other night. Have fun, Toronto. I'm not a fan. Quickly, I like as a player. The issue is, once again, you got rid of a bench guy and you got yourself a full-time starter who can play 40 minutes a game. So I just think the Knicks roster got better because the starting lineup got better. And
Yeah.
I do think you're looking at a spot where the Knicks defensively can really throw a lot of different looks at Portland. And I don't think Portland can do the same. They gave up 40 to Mikal Bridges. So have fun trying to guard Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So I'm going to go ahead and lean to the Knicks here. I know it's a lot of points. I get it. But based on the current form of this team since the OG trade, I'm going to keep backing them until they lose.
I think for me, like, you take a look at their 4-game winning streak here for the New York Knicks.
They've been
You mentioned, like,
teams.
Yeah, they've been very good defensively. They haven't given up more than 106 points in any of those 4 wins. So they gave up 105 to the Wizards, 92 to the Sixers. Yes, that was without Joel Embiid. They gave up 100 to the Chicago Bulls and then 106 to the Minnesota Timberwolves in that game. And it comes just down to the fact is Portland going to be able to score enough points to keep up with the New York Knicks because they've been very good offensively as well, led by, like you mentioned, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. So it does seem like a lot of points here, but I'm gonna lay it here with the New York Knicks. I think, like, it's just the fact that how good this team is defensively now for me. That I think that's where the separation will come from for this New York Knicks team, and being at home. I do like the spot here for the New York Knicks -12. Neither of these teams are on a look ahead here or on the front end of a back-to-back. Let me just double check that here. So Portland does not play tomorrow, and neither do the New York Knicks. So not really a look ahead spot for either team as far as the schedule goes. So yeah, let's go to the total here. It has gone up. I guess money coming in on the over here at 228 here, Scott. I think it would just make sense to just look at the Knicks team total to go over in this game.
Yeah, because once again, I'm not sure Portland's going to score. You mentioned how good the Knicks defense has been, so I feel like I'm kind of obligated to at least consider taking a Portland team total under Knicks team total over type of game. But I can see this getting ugly. Like, I really think the Knicks can bury this team. So, yeah, I'm probably going to lean to the Blazers team total under, but that's kind of the only thing I'm tempted by for the total.
Yeah, Knicks team total for me. Let's get to player props in this game. Anything you're looking at?
I mean, they might, once again, this might be a blowout game, but I think Brunson probably goes crazy in this game. You can argue that Randall might, but I think Brunson is just the guy who has the ball a bit more. I think Brunson can go for 30 somewhat easily against this defense, so I don't mind that potential angle. Hardenstein rebounds, definitely worth a look. He's been great for this team, especially with the recent trades they made. Does seem like Randall can still get rebounds, is, I'd say, kind of willing to just let Hardenstein be active, which is what he should be doing. So I like Hardenstein rebounds as well. Maybe Hardenstein blocks in this game. Portland does allow a lot of blocks, so I do think that Hardenstein blocks is worth consideration for this game.
Yeah, I was going to mention Hartenstein rebounds in this game. You mentioned the blocks as well. The Blazers are allowing 3.5 blocks to the center position over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, for the entirety of the season, and then over the last 2 weeks, they're giving up 14.3 rebounds. Are the Portland Trailblazers to the center position, and they're also, like you mentioned, they've not been very good against the point guard position. They're allowing 34.2 points per game to that point guard position. So I think that's something similar that we talked about with the Kings game, is that if you want to get beyond some Knicks props, it could turn into a blowout, and they could be sitting their starters in the that fourth quarter where you're trying to get those couple of more points if you are betting in the overs on the player props, where they're not going to be coming back into the game. So Anthony Simons, you mentioned it for the Portland side.
That's the only guy I fully expect to chuck enough to go over his point total.
Yeah.
But
other than that, Jeremy Grant maybe you would look at, but I don't know.
Brogdon was really good in overtime against the Nets, but he's willing to defer though. Like, it's tricky for points props because Simons and Grant and Sharp are basically taking all the shots for this team.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Not much else for this game. You have anything else?
No, not really.
All right. Before we get over to the last couple of games here for tonight, let me tell everyone about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL and NBA season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to crowd more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right, Scott, let's get over to the last two games on the schedule here for tonight. The first one is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. They are in Dallas tonight to take on the Mavericks. Mavericks are currently a 9-point favorite in this game with a total of 235. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, obviously for the Memphis Grizzlies, we talked about it at the top of the show. Ja Morant is done for the year. Santi Aldama is doubtful tonight. Brandon Clark continues to be out. Jaren Jackson Jr. is questionable here tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. Derrick Rose is going to be out as well. For the Dallas Mavericks, Luka is probable tonight with a right ankle swelling. Dante Exum is out tonight. Maxi Kleber continues to be out. Derek Lively is going to be out for this game as well. And Grant Williams is probable here tonight for the Dallas Mavericks. Scott, let's start with the side here, a -9 in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. I think my question is this a spot where this is a letdown spot for the Grizzlies, knowing that you don't have Ja Morant for the rest of the year? Or is it, hey, no, maybe let's get up against a Western Conference opponent here and see what kind of happens for our team?
I think I have to wait for the Jaren Jackson news. I know I've given him some crap before because I don't think he rebounds the ball at all, but he has been good at rebounding recently. He's had 9+ rebounds in 2 straight games. He's had at least 24 points in 3 straight games. He's been really good, and he had 28 against the Suns in that last game. So I might actually have to wait on this. But I think if Jaren Jackson plays, I might be tempted by Memphis in this game at 9. I think 9's a lot of points, but if he doesn't play, then I'm definitely going to end up going with Dallas because I don't think that Memphis has any bodies. So I'm going to have to wait this out. I personally think Jaren's not going to play, so I'm going to lean to Dallas for now. But once again, 9's a lot of points, and Memphis has been kind of frisky recently with or without Ja because they ended up beating Phoenix without Ja, courtesy of a good fourth quarter. So I think I'm going to lean to Dallas solely on the belief, in my opinion, that Jaren Jackson's not going to play. But if he does play, I might end up leading to Memphis.
Yeah, I think that for this Mavericks team, especially at home this season, where, well, number one, this team is relatively healthy, right? Obviously, there was that period in time where Kyrie Irving was out for this Mavericks team and Luka was just going bonkers. But the only part that scares me about this Mavericks team is they usually don't win by margin at home. They are 11-7 straight up, and only 9-9 against the spread at home this season. But you take a look at the Memphis Grizzlies side of things, that obviously know Ja Morant. They're missing some role pieces. Like we mentioned, Triple J is questionable here tonight. So where outside of Bane does the scoring come from for this Memphis Grizzlies team, right? Because we saw early in the season that Desmond Bane was putting up an incredible amount of shot volume in the absence of Ja Morant. I think he's going to obviously have to go back to that now without Ja Morant for the rest of the season. But for the Dallas Mavericks, it's like, all right, I have Luka on this team. I have Kyrie Irving on this team. I have guys that can knock down 3-point shots. Derrick Jones Jr. has been filling in very nicely, as far as a role player and with some of the injuries that they are dealing with on their role players for the Dallas side. He was big in that game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I think I'm going to lay it here with the Dallas Mavericks. I just don't think there's enough right now. And maybe that, like I mentioned, the tires may be deflated a little bit for this Memphis Grizzlies team, knowing that they don't have Ja Morant. And you also mentioned that we probably want to wait for the Triple J news. He's also questionable in this game. I want to say he had 44 against the Dallas Mavericks. Was it this season or was it last season? Did Triple J? I'll have to
He had
double
44
check
against Houston. He had 41 against
Okay.
Dallas.
Yeah, there 11. You go. Yeah. So, but nonetheless, I'll lean here with the Dallas Mavericks in this spot here. Any thoughts on the total in this game here, Scott?
I don't know if I have much, to be honest. I don't have much for this game. I think I'll lean under, but there's no way I'm betting a total. I'm probably not going to bet this game at all. But
fair enough. Any player props?
Don't I kind of have to take Marcus Smart threes at 2.5? I mean, he had
Marcus
7 against the Lakers over the weekend, and he's going to get the ultimate green light. We know Marcus Smart. One of the reasons why I'm not a fan of him is because he has never seen a shot that he doesn't like, and he's not a great shooter. But the last 2 games, he has had 8 threes and 4 threes. And to go through the attempts, he made 8 threes on 14 attempts against the Lakers. And he made 4 threes on 13 attempts against the Suns. You're telling me 2.5s plus 106?
Oh, yeah. I think
plus
the pick of the year.
He took 13 threes in back-to-back games. Yeah, give me the over. Like, that's a crazy number.
Yeah, I 100%. I completely forgot about Marcus Smart until you actually mentioned his name. And Dallas, over the last 5 games, they are bottom 10 as far as 3-point defense goes, allowing 14 makes per game. And they're allowing, let's see here, Dallas, the second most attempts over the last 5 games as well. Unfortunately, teams are not able to knock it down against them because they're only shooting it at 32.9%. Which is the 5th best over the last 5 games. But with all the injuries like we just talked about for this Memphis Grizzlies team and Desmond Bane, that's going to get attention. And like you mentioned, that Marcus Smart doesn't ever have a shot that he doesn't think is going to go in. I think just off of pure volume, we have to take Marcus Smart here over 2.5 threes. I think that's a great call. Potential ladder as well, man. I mean, can I see a world where he knocks down 4? Absolutely. I wonder what the number is on that for Marcus Smart here tonight. Let me see if we can find it.
4 threes is 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to sprinkle.
I might give that out later. But once again, it's a spot where he's going to chuck it like 10 plus times. Got to at least play the math.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for this game?
No, not really. Once again, I don't really know what to think about this game, and I went from not betting it to being all over Marcus Smart 3 props. So that's kind of how that happens. But
this is why we do the pod.
Yeah, we do it on the show. Sometimes you got to adjust on the fly.
All right, last game of the night here, Scott. We got the new look Toronto Raptors. They are in Hollywood to take on the Lakers. Lakers currently laying 5 points in this game with a total of 236. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, we'll start here with the Toronto Raptors. Jakob Poeltl is out for this game. He has a left ankle sprain. Otto Porter Jr. is doubtful for tonight. He has a right knee sprain. Christian Koloko is also out for this game. He's dealing with a respiratory issue. And their first-round draft pick, Grady Dick, is out. He is on G League assignment. For the Lakers, Gabe Vincent is out. Rui Hachimura is doubtful. LeBron James is questionable, but he always is. And then Anthony Davis is probable for this game. Let's start with the spread here, -5 in favor of the LA Lakers. Here's Scott hosting the Toronto Raptors. What do you think?
So prop to the Lakers for beating the Clippers. Kind of a weird coaching job by Ty Lue there in the 4th quarter, which I thought was pretty abysmal. Ham was bad too, but Ty Lue was especially bad. He benched Kawhi for basically the final 3 minutes. But the Lakers are still not a very good team. Toronto has not been good, but with this new roster, they've been more entertaining. They've been able to score a bit more. I'm going to lean to Toronto plus the 5. I just think it's too many points. Fun fact, by the way, the last 17 games, you know what the Lakers' record is against the Raptors?
Last 17 games against the Raptors.
This is straight up, not ATS.
3-14.
That is correct. They are 3-14 in the last 17. Well done. They are 3-14 in the last 17 games against the Raptors. So, yeah, Toronto just owns this team. Why? I don't know. But the point is, I do think 5's a lot of points. And you could argue the Lakers might be overvalued because they looked pretty good for one game. Yes, it was against the Clippers. I know it's a good win. They're still not a very good team. Toronto's not a great team either, but at least I'll point out they've been better since the trade. I'm going to lean to the Raptors here. I just think the Raptors are in a good spot to make this game interesting, maybe win, but I think a lot of people are going to buy in on the Lakers again because of one game, and they're going to ignore all the other games right before that. So give me the Raptors plus 5.
I think my only concern is, or one of the concerns I have,
going for like 30 and 20 against Jakob Poeltl.
Exactly. Like, is it going to be like Christian or Chris Boucher getting the start for the Raptors at that center position? Is it going to be Scotty Barnes trying to hold down AD? I think that's a concern that I do have. And also LeBron, we know he likes to attack the basket. Obviously, he's done that all throughout his career. And if they don't really have that true rim protection like they don't, especially now without Jakob Poeltl, who probably didn't give him much anyways, like that's going to be a free pass for the Lakers to get to the basket and score a lot of points inside the paint. So I feel like I'm leaning towards the Lakers side here. I feel like
I tried to give the Lakers a shot on Friday night against the Grizzlies because they own the Grizzlies and they got buried in the second half. Like I tried. I tried as much as I could.
Yeah. I'll go with the Lakers. I just think that from a matchup perspective here for AD and LeBron to just dominate inside the paint. And also Toronto has not been very good, obviously, defensively, since they made the trading away your pretty much your best defensive player for two guys, especially in Emmanuel Quickly, who's now the starter for this team that doesn't play any defense. RJ Barrett, he gives you some length and can provide some type of defense, but I just think again from a matchup perspective in this game that AD and LeBron should dominate inside the paint. But total in this game here, Scott, what are you thinking? It's currently sitting at 236.
It's such a high total for the Lakers, but they've been so bad defensively with the exception of the Clippers game. And Toronto's going to go smaller, so they're going to want to go faster with Poeltl being out. So I guess I'm leaning over. I really don't know. It's tough because the Lakers are really tough to take overs with because of how underwhelming the three-point shooting is for this team.
Yeah, and the Raptors offensively, like they've been better now with since the trade. I'll say that much. When you take the last two games, they scored 130 against the Kings. They scored 133 against the Golden State Warriors, and the last 5 games for the Lakers defensively, they are where are they? Number 13, but I feel like that number is a little higher just because of what transpired in that game against the Clippers, where they held them to 103 points. I think I like the over in this game. I know I talked a lot about how the Lakers at home this season have been an under team, and I'm trying to pull up that exact number here. 12-6 towards the under at home are the LA Lakers, and then the Raptors on the road this season as far as their total goes. 11-7 towards the over, but I'm curious to see like what the pace is going to be in this game here as well. Lakers, we know traditionally they've had life pushing the pace over the last 5 games. The Toronto Raptors are number 9 in pace. And their offensive rating is at 123.5, which is number 4. And the Lakers, as far as pace goes, they're at number 14, right above league average as far as pushing the pace. So I'll lean towards the over in this game. Player props in this game here, Scott. What are you looking at?
I think I got to mention AD, at least for rebound, something with AD. Like, if he doesn't go off in this game, then there's something wrong because he's against probably Boucher. Like, they don't have anybody. And you might remember they also traded away one of their backup centers in Achua in that OG trade. I think Achua sucks, but at least it's a big body. Like, I don't know what they have at this point. So, I just think AD should have a monster game. Trying to think of what else I like for the game in itself. I mean, LeBron should get to the rim every single time, but I'm assuming Barnes gets the matchups. Maybe Barnes ends up in foul trouble.
Yeah.
Barnes kind of has a weird role with this team now because he was one of the main scorers, and then they got Quickly and Barrett, and they take a lot of shots. I don't mind Scotty Barnes under for points because Siakam's also had a good run recently. But let me quickly just pull up the point numbers for the Raptors recently because I know Barnes has not exactly been lighting it up on the scoreboard, and I do wonder if the odds makers have fully reflected that. It's at 19.5. Okay, now I'm not really that interested. I was kind of hoping it'd be in the 20s. Do you see much in general, or do you just want to take Quickly stuff?
I think I really do like Quickly threes in this game. It's at 2.5 at around -115. The Lakers over the last 5 games are tied for the second worst 3-point makes allowed per game at around 16.4. They're tied with the Brooklyn Nets. And Quickly now being in the starting lineup for this team, he's getting the shot attempts that we thought he should have gotten when he was with the New York Knicks. But over the last 4 games with the Toronto Raptors, he's at 5 attempts, 8 attempts, 12 attempts, and 4 attempts against the Golden State Warriors. But like I mentioned, with D'Lo probably matching up on Emmanuel Quickly, I don't hate the points prop, but I think it's a little bit of a correlation that if Emmanuel quickly gets over his points, he's probably knocking down at least 3 3-point shots. And this was something I was discussing with the prop queen this morning, Ariel Epstein, that we're looking at Emmanuel quickly, that in 14 games this season where he scored at least 18 or more points, that's his points prop right now at 17.5. 14 of those games, he's hit at least 3 3-pointers. So there's a little bit of correlation that if you think that Emmanuel quickly is going to get over 17.5 points here tonight, then he's going to at least hit 3 3-pointers. So at 2.5, I don't hate it, especially if I do think that the pace is going to be up in this game, and especially with the defensive advantage that, or the offensive advantage that quickly he's going to have with D-Lo trying to guard him. I like that. If you want to take the points prop over 17.5, I don't hate that. The assist may also be there for quickly. He's had 10 assists in the last game against the Warriors. He had 8 against the Sacramento Kings. And also the minutes are there for him as well since he came over in the trade with the New York Knicks. So that was one that I really did like. You mentioned AD rebounds. Historically, he hasn't done well, but I'm not sure who's going to be rebounding the basketball or who's going to be trying to box out Anthony Davis. He should dominate on the board here tonight. But those were the couple I was looking at.
Yeah, I think I'm also tempted by a really obscure prop. I kind of like Cam Reddish under 1.5 assists at -130. He's had 2 assists combined in the last 3 games, and his minutes have completely tanked. To go through his minutes in the last couple of games, he played 32 against Memphis. I don't know why. He still had 0 assists, but I don't know why he played 32 in that game. The last 5 games, though, 18, 22, 19, 32, 20. So Reddish has seen his minutes kind of deteriorate, which makes sense. I don't think he's any good. But the point is, what does Reddish really do with this offense? He stands in the corner and occasionally shoots. That's it.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything. So you're looking at other guys having the ball the entire time. But once again, if you have 2 assists combined in your last 3 games, and you've gone under this number in 4 of the last 5, and you're probably the 4th option to handle the ball, maybe the 5th option on the court.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with your under 1.5 assists at -130.
All right. Anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right. So that is, excuse me, the last game of the night. Let's get over to our lock and dog for this game here, Scott, and then we will give out our underdog fantasy lineup here for tonight. You want to lead us off?
Yeah. So for my lock on the show, a part of me really wants to take Sacramento, mostly just for the spot. But I know the Sacramento's not as good of a team as everyone thought they were going to be entering the season. I really just, I don't know if I want to do it or not. You know what? I think I'm going to trust my instincts on the last game we talked about. I'm going to go player props. Give me Cam Reddish under 1.5 assists. Let's get weird with it. Once again, under in 4 of the last 5. His minutes have kind of been really just getting less and less over the last week or so because he's not very good. And he never has the ball in his hands. So it's pretty tough to get assists when you never have the ball in your hands. He stands in the corner. Think of all the ball handlers on this team, whether it's going to be LeBron, you're going to have AD in the post, you have Reeves, you have D'Lo, you have a lot of guys who handle the ball. Reddish is not one of those guys. So give me Reddish under 1.5 assists at -130 as my lock. For my dog, I got to do it. Give me Marcus Smart, 4+ threes at 3-1. Let's get weird with it. He's made 4+ threes in back-to-back games. He's attempted 13+ threes in each of the last 2 games. Dallas, you mentioned before, is not a good defense at guarding the three-point line. And Marcus Smart without Ja should get either a boost in minutes or a boost in shot attempts or both. Give me Marcus Smart, 4+ threes at 3-1.
All right. All right. So for my lock for tonight, I just don't see how the Pistons are going to slow down the Sacramento Kings. It's a big number for a reason, but Kings team total over 126.5. I got to go with it there. I mean, we mentioned it and you mentioned it that the 3 best offensive players are on the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
Are the 3 best players even on the court are on the Sacramento Kings?
No offense to Duran, but right now I think the 3 best players are on the Kings.
Yeah. So with Malik Monk, with De'Aaron Fox, with Domantas Sabonis, I think that this team should have success and they should bury this team, at least scoring wise. So I'll take the team total over. It's a lot of points, but again, do they walk into 130 against this defense that has been the worst in the entire league over the last 5 games? I think that's a real possibility. So I'll give out the Kings team total over 126.5 For my dog, I think the Magic are in a good spot here. Magic first half money line, maybe. I know that train has cooled off. I know we were all over that at the beginning of the season.
It
As
was
far
fun
as
while it
yeah,
lasted.
yeah, let's go Orlando Magic first half money line plus 136 right now is what I see. Again, we talked about at the beginning of the season that they were really good at home. I think that for this Minnesota Timberwolves team on the road, we talked about how they are not very good as far as their spread record and their straight up record. Are the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I'm trying to pull up the numbers exactly of what the Minnesota Timberwolves have done on the road in the first half. So over the last 10 games on the road against the spread in the first half, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 3-7 straight up, while the Orlando Magic are treading water at 4-6. But I do think that they come out and like they have been all season and play well in the first half at home. So I'll try to get in with my money and get out. Orlando Magic first half money line plus 136 as my dog here for tonight. Scott, let's put together our Underdog Fantasy entry here for tonight. Again, make sure to go to underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use that promo code SGPN. You'll get a first deposit bonus of up to $100. Again, Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, so let's see if they have Marcus Smart listed yet. I don't think they will. Yeah, they don't have it listed yet. You want to go Anthony Davis in some capacity, rebounds or points?
Yeah, what's his well, I'll ask what's the points, what's the rebounds, and what's the PR?
So points 28.5, rebounds 13.5, and the PR is get a 42.5.
Do you want to just do points? Do we think he just scores 30?
He should.
He really should.
Yeah, we'll trust him here tonight. All right, so let's go Anthony Davis. Higher 28.5 points. What else are we looking at? Let's see.
Do you want Hartenstein rebounds? Or you're worried about a blowout?
I think he's a guy that can get that within 3 quarters because he's been getting the minutes. There's not really much depth behind Hartenstein. I mean, if you want to consider Jericho Sims,
he's had 19 plus rebounds in 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, it's at 11.5 right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying 19 plus in 2 of the last 3 games is so wild.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, so we'll go Isaiah Hartenstein. Higher 11.5 rebounds. And what else did we like? I wish that Smart.
I'm trying to think of what else is even on the board. I mean, do you want like Suggs? Do you want Suggs threes or something? Like, do you want?
Oh yeah, Suggs. Let's see if they have it. Suggs. They don't. Oh yeah, they do.
Should be a 2.5.
Yeah, they have 2.5 threes.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. Or do you want to go points 15.5?
Let me just quickly see how he's done points wise recently.
Because he's getting the shot volume.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying I'm not sure if he's gonna actually get to 15.5 if he doesn't hit the threes. So we might just want the threes. I mean, he's attempted at least 7 threes in each of the last 6 games.
Yeah, 6
so
games, yeah.
I feel like we kind of have to consider taking the threes. Once again, the volume's just there.
Yeah. All right. So let's do threes then. Well, yeah. So that's what. Okay, I already have that. All right. So we'll go. Our entry for tonight: Anthony Davis, higher 28.5 points. Isaiah Hartenstein, higher 11.5 rebounds, and Jalen Suggs, higher 2.5 3-pointers made. That $50 entry will get you a return of $300 here for tonight this entry for the Tuesday night card in the association. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Scott, anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
No, not really. I'll be back once again tomorrow with Terrell, and looking forward to the games tonight.
Yep. Another 5-game schedule here for tonight in the association. So should be a good night of hoops again. Hopefully we do put some more money in the pockets of our listeners. And like Scott mentioned, Scott and Terrell will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. for the Wednesday schedule in the association. Make sure to follow Scott on Twitter/X at Reichel Radio. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, for the 75 of you watching, to smash that like button for us before you guys get out of here. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast YouTube channel. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys would do that as well. Good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.